Hi, I'm Fred, head coach at USOLI. Welcome to the Epic Endurance podcast, where we take a deep dive into endurance, strength, and conditioning. Today, we are going to talk about something that I call RSI, which is the Reactive Strength Index. Now, before we attack RSI, I want to give you a bit of background. We're looking at running efficiency or running economy. Running economy being the amount of oxygen you're using per kilometer at a given pace, so the lower the better. Or running effectiveness or efficiency or performance efficiency, which would be the ratio between your work and your work in watts to your pace. So the more efficient you are, the better. If you can use less watts to go faster, then this is good. You want your effectiveness to go high, and you want your economy to go low. Economy can be impacted by two things. How efficient is your body at creating energy? So this often goes with more training and training adaptation that occurs, maybe also altitude training, heat training, and so forth and so on. And then you have everything that touches into the mechanical side. We talked about environment in other videos, we talked about shoes, we talked about mechanics. There can be a big disparity of results in terms of performance when it comes to how much the economy, so this global thing, is affecting your performance. Today, I was talking with an athlete whose VO2 max I estimate, and again estimate because I haven't tested, but estimate from data to be around 51, taken from his max power values on different points in the run, and wanting to run a marathon. Like I mentioned in the newsletter, we can use VO2 max as a predictor of marathon performance. There has been a very famous table made by Jack Daniels, the VDOT system, which basically lists just that and being used and used over again. There is an issue with that, again, efficiency. And efficiency can make a big difference. The same athlete running at 78% of VO2 max and running economy of 250, which I will consider quite poor, like a novice athlete, will probably finish running in about 5 hours and 25 minutes. The same athlete not increasing his VO2 max, so same capacity, not having improved. Of course, most of the things are going to improve, but let's say we take the same person, we've improved his running economy, so we touched on the mechanical side, maybe the metabolic side also has improved because his training volume has improved, and we lowered his economy to a realistic 200, which is about what I would see college athlete be. You will be able to run about a 3 hour and 22 minute marathon time. So we're talking from 5 hours plus to close to the 3 hour mark. Of course, there is a ceiling that he will not be able to break. If we consider like the best trained athlete in the world and even improve his economy, the best he could achieve from his standpoint will be 3 hours and 10 minutes. The same athlete can do other things, maybe improve his body composition, or maybe find a race that is more suitable for him, or maybe having tactics in the race that maybe improve economy because he's running behind other people, but he's going to hit a ceiling at one point. Still, from a close to 3 hour mark to a close to 5 hour mark, there is a big difference for the same athlete at the same capacity. One of the factors that we talked about in terms of running performance efficiency, again, work to performance, or effectiveness, is leg stiffness, or is a metric that you can see when using power meters, which is basically how much springiness does your leg have. You don't want your leg to collapse on the ground, and good shoes will help you improve leg springiness. Plyometric strength training will do also. There is something that track athletes use, which is again the reactive strength index, where they do a hop and then look at high they can jump after a rebound. So how much amount of force they're able to produce, how fast they can respond, to contact time on the ground. Reducing your ground contact time, improving the force that you're able to send is a good thing. Now, because the laws of physics are the laws of physics, I just made a simple calculator based on gravity. And I think if we know how long the person is spending on the ground and how long they're spending, and we know that gravity is for everyone, unless you're going on Mount Everest or underwater, which will be a little silly, we can know how high the person is jumping. Now, of course, the person trying to change his form while jumping and tucking and then trying to lower or just landing on his face, then he might increase the score. But if he jumps normally and hands up in the same position, we can see how high he jumps and how much time it takes him to generate this force, and we can come with a number. which again might be a good indication of this ability to bounce back. And maximizing this ability is quite important for two reasons. The more efficient a person is at doing that, the less they rely on muscle, and the more they rely on tendons and other structures to be able to bounce back. It's the same way when you do jump rope. If you do jump rope very, very slowly, it's actually more tiring than if you achieve a certain cadence or certain tempo. If we can push things toward what we call muscular elasticity, if we can push things toward this a bit more efficient system, where oxygen and ATP is not needed because it's a spring-like effect where mechanical load is being pushed down and then bounce back, then you save a lot of energy and therefore you're able to go faster. I will show you this simple calculator, very, very simple here. So it's called the Reactive Strength Index. And I'm just going to use this metric, the time before the ground. So what we want the person record with ideally a high-speed camera and look at the amount of time in milliseconds that he spends on the ground on his first hop, and then he will jump and then come down. So we want to see here how long does he spend with his feet on the ground when his feet start to lift off. So I'll usually look at when the heels is already off the floor, then there is no, depending on the technique, but mostly the heels and the midsole are starting to go off the floor, there is no much weight left. And how long he spends on the air, we calculate also this one, and before he touches the ground again. Here you can see he spends 0.18 seconds on the ground, and time in the air 0.55. Now, obviously, you want to have a decent camera to look at this. If you're recording in 24 frames per second, it might be a little more complicated. If you're recording with 100 frames per second, then you will have more range to look at the precise number. If he wants to spend a little less time on the ground, his score will improve. Now, right now his score is 2.5, low reactive strength, so this is not excellent, not prepared for moderate intensity plyometrics, recommended doing some strength training. If we were to reduce that, his score will go up a little bit, excellent. So again, just by the time he changed on the floor, he was able in this amount of time to generate this amount of energy, pushing himself at almost 0.4 meters in the air. And this is excellent reactive strength and ready for high intensity plyometrics. And this point is, if he reaching the point of diminishing return, means that if he did less plyometrics, then he will probably lose a bit. Now, this number and these numbers are both equally important. If you're able to distribute a lot of energy in a very short time, then you produce more power. Again, power is strength multiplied by distance divided by time. Less time to produce the same amount of strength over the same distance, the more power you can do. This will affect the time to push this power. This will obviously affect the distance being covered. The more time you spend in the air, the higher you're jumping. So if we were to increase this to a whopping 0.7, then he's jumping that high, and this is world-class reactive strength, is ready for the Olympics. Simple tool. Looks pretty simple in essence, recommending to use a small camera and looking at yourself or athletes when they're doing a small jump and maybe measuring this over time. If these numbers are very low, there is probably some low-hanging fruit to be worked on. Again, this is in some ways free speed because you're not really working on improving your VO2 max or critical power. You're working on improving your efficiency and adding some exercise like plyometrics or even basic strength training in your lower body will increase its numbers and will make you a faster runner. To resume, we just mentioned how VO2 max might be a strong indicator of performance on long duration, but your running economy, which is impacted by running effectiveness or this performance efficiency, your mechanics can vary over more than an hour on a marathon, and you can improve your economy without necessarily doing more work. More work will be helpful, but you can improve your running economy by looking at all the things that you usually don't do. Improving your elasticity is definitely something that I recommend. That will be all for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Bye.